So, life coaching. It's a term you've probably heard thrown around, right? But what does it actually mean? Is it like therapy? Is it some guru who's going to tell you how to live your life? Okay, let's dive in and get a really clear picture of what's actually going on behind the name. Maybe you've heard the term and thought, that sounds a little airy-fairy. But deep down, you've wondered if there's something genuinely useful hiding behind that fluffy name. And look, if you're skeptical, you have every right to be. So let's cut through all of that fluff and look at the actual, practical framework that life coaching is built on.
All right, first things first, we need a solid definition. What's the fundamental goal here? What is a coaching conversation really trying to do? Well, it's probably simpler than you think, and it all boils down to one single, really powerful formula.
At the very heart of coaching is this core equation. Performance equals potential minus interference. Okay, let's break that down. Performance is pretty straightforward. It's what you actually get done, what you achieve. Potential is what you are truly capable of. And interference? Well, that's all the junk that gets in the way. It can be external stuff, sure, but a lot of the time, it's the internal stuff. The doubt, the fear, the bad habits. A coach's entire job is to help you spot and clear out that interference so you can unlock the massive potential you already have.
And this brings us to maybe the biggest myth about coaching, that it's all about giving advice. It is not. A coach isn't there to tell you what to do or hand you their magic formula for success. Nope. Instead, they facilitate your own thought process. They're there to help you find your own answers. It's what's called a non-directive approach, and it's designed to empower you, not to lecture you.
So, that interference we were just talking about, where does most of it come from? Well, a lot of the time, the biggest obstacles we face are completely internal. It all starts with these two competing voices that we all have chattering away inside our heads. Think of it like this. On one shoulder, you've got the inner critic. This voice is an expert on all your past failures. It's constantly warning you about all the terrible things that could happen. It just wants to keep you safe by wrapping you up in cotton wool. But on your other shoulder, you've got your inner coach. This voice speaks from your future success. It's the one cheering you on, telling you to just have a go, and celebrating every little bit of progress. The big question is, which one of those voices is flying your plane right now?
Okay, so how does a coach help you turn down the volume on that inner critic and amplify your inner coach? Well, it's not just some random free-flowing chat. There are actually structured models and really specific techniques they use to guide the conversation and make progress. Let's take a look inside the playbook. For example, here's the I Can Do model. It's a framework that gives the whole process some real structure. You start by investigating what the client really wants. Then you define the current situation. Where are you right now? After that, you identify the aims, explore a number of different options or alternatives, set a real date for getting it done, and finally, clarify the outcome. How will you know for sure that you've succeeded? It's a really methodical way to turn those vague wishes into a concrete, actionable plan.
Now, inside a framework like that, a coach might ask you a really simple question. Let's say a client wants to get fit. The coach asks, have you belonged to a gym before? It seems pretty straightforward, doesn't it? But what are they really listening for?
See, the answer isn't just about your fitness history. The coach is listening for what's between the words. They're listening for any hesitation, a weak tone of voice, any lack of certainty. These are all tiny little clues that maybe, just maybe, you aren't fully committed to that specific path. It reveals a hidden piece of interference that you need to deal with before you can really move forward. And that brings us to the real engine of change in coaching. It's all about getting to the root of that interference. Those limiting beliefs that are constantly feeding your inner critic and stopping you dead in your tracks.
Let's use a super common one. How many times have you told yourself, ugh, I'm just bad at remembering names, right? It feels like a fact. It feels like a permanent part of your personality. And when you believe that, your brain goes out of its way to find evidence to prove you right. But here's the thing. A belief isn't a fact. It's just a thought pattern, and you can change it. So how do you actually do that? Well, one really powerful technique is called the self-talk interrupt. It's a simple 3-step process. First, you just learn to recognize that old negative thought when it pops into your head. Second, you consciously interrupt it, stop it right in its tracks. And third, you immediately replace it with a new empowering belief.
So I am bad at remembering names becomes I am good at remembering names. Now, I know, at first, it might feel like you're just lying to yourself. But here's the secret. Your brain believes what you tell it over and over and over again. Over time, that new thought starts to feel normal, and then your brain starts looking for evidence to support that belief.
It's a conscious choice, and that's the very core of making real, lasting change.
Ultimately, all of these techniques, clearing out interference, listening to your inner coach, rewriting your beliefs, they're all designed to clear the path. They're meant to get you to a place where you can honestly and truly answer one last, incredibly powerful question.
What would you dare to dream? What actions would you take? What would you truly reach for if you knew, absolutely, positively knew, that you could not fail? That right there is what this is all about. Silencing all that interference so you can finally hear the answer.